Hi guys! Today we're going to be talking about becoming disabled and we're going to be watching some TikToks about the topic. I have been disabled since I was 12 years old. I developed chronic pain, FND and chronic fatigue syndrome, all within the span of 6 months. I've spent years in and out of hospitals getting tests and different procedures done, so I know a thing or two about becoming disabled, especially what it's like becoming disabled at such a young age. So we're going to be watching some TikToks that go along with that theme. Let's get into the video. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a post from actually my friend on TikTok. Her name is Abby. Her username is sunflower_bug_. And yeah, we're gonna watch that now. So let's get into it. So it says, me because sometimes it's hard to remember who I am outside of my chronic illness. And it's got the sound, I don't really know what kind of girl I am. And the caption says, it's taken so much from me, I barely know who I am anymore. And honestly, I relate to this so much. I feel like it's a very relatable thing within chronic illness and disabled teens. You kind of forget who you are without all of like the pain and suffering that you've been through. It sounds like a crazy thing to say, but like I don't remember what it feels like to not live with pain 24/7. I genuinely cannot remember what it feels like. My brain just can't comprehend it anymore. Yeah, I find this really relatable and I hope that you're doing okay, Abby. Okay, the next video that we're gonna watch is by Ali. Her username is AliRose819. And so we're gonna watch this. It's about becoming disabled and how you don't realize what you have until you lose it. So
when you become disabled, you realize that literally everything is a privilege. Being able to get out of bed is a privilege. Being able to use the bathroom by yourself is a privilege. Being able to bathe yourself is a privilege. Being able to make your own food is a privilege.
I never realized how much I truly love to shower and do all these skincare and things until I was bedridden for almost a year when I was 12 years old, and I don't think I ever realized how much I enjoy those things and just how much confidence and independence I felt when I was doing my own skincare and things, and I could take a nice long shower and not have to worry about the water being too hot and making me dizzy or things like that when I could stand to shower. Boy, do I miss that. I don't think I ever really realized how much I took for granted these things that I could do on my own until I couldn't. So I feel this.
Privilege. Literally everything that you can do is a privilege, and I did not fully realize this until I stopped being able to do those things. Now that my health is starting to improve, I'm really grateful for literally everything that I do now. I vacuumed my room yesterday, and I was so excited that I was able to vacuum my room without making myself sick, when a couple years ago that would have been something I did once a week.
That's actually so real. It's so exciting when you can do the little things that other people don't really think about, but when we get to do them, it's so exciting. When I've made my bed and I'm not in my bed, I feel so excited. I feel like I've got my whole life together, even though it's not true. But just the act of being able to not be in bed and to make my bed makes me feel so accomplished. It's strange.
I didn't realize how much I took for granted when my health was a lot better until I couldn't do those things anymore. So now little things that I'm able to do is such a huge deal to me that people don't realize. Being able to be independent is so huge for me. A lot of people don't understand what a privilege is until they lose that privilege.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize how much of a privilege it is to do these things that give you independence. Like because I moved, I think 2 years ago now roughly, I was able to take public transportation. I was able to take the bus by myself, and that was like my first experience of that kind of independence, where I could go where I wanted when I wanted to. And when I became paralyzed, I lost that privilege, that independence that I had just gained. And I've always felt that, like, I've always struggled with, like, how that's made me feel, suddenly having this independence and then it just being completely stripped away from me. And this is because I don't live in an ideal place to use my wheelchair in the streets, and it's a bit like hilly and stuff, so it's harder for me to get to like the bus stop by myself, and so I can't really take the bus and stuff. But yeah, it truly doesn't clock to you how much of a privilege just taking the bus is, because people don't necessarily view like public transport as privilege. It's just a perception that some people have. But I view it as such a privilege and such like a tool for independence, and it was so lovely to have that kind of independence. And then it was all just taken away, and that's something that I've struggled with definitely a lot. It sucks to just get like this glimpse of what your life could be and the world, and then all of a sudden that just like is gone. Okay, so this next TikTok is by Molly Burke. I love her. Her username is Molly Burke Official, and she is a blind TikTok creator. She posts all about disability rights. She has written a book called Unseen. She is just an amazing advocate for people with disabilities. And this video is about the fact that most people will become disabled at some point in their lives. Yeah, so let's just get into it.
Like a lot of people, you might not know that 80% of disability is acquired between the ages of 18 to 64. And given the majority of disabilities, like mine, are not curable, you are more likely to join my community than I am to join yours.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that it is truly like all it takes is 2 seconds and you're disabled. And not a lot of people realize how quickly it can happen and how it can happen to anyone. People don't realize that. And I think it's crazy when people are like, well, inaccessibility doesn't affect me, so why do I need to care about it? It's like literally 2 seconds on the road and you're in a wheelchair for life. It will affect you. Like, I genuinely can't understand people who say that, because it's like, it's only commonsensical to think, I will probably need some kind of accessibility in some point in my life, whether it's just from like general aging, or if you get in an accident or you develop an illness, you're gonna need some kind of accessibility throughout your lives. So we should all be striving for a really accessible world for all.
This is why everybody should care about true diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, universal design, authentic representation, because at one point or another, it's going to affect all of us. And the reality is, if you are privileged enough to live a long life, you probably will become disabled one day, at least by today's standards.
Absolutely. This is such a well said video. Like, this is from 2023, but like, I think that this video is so well said and just amazing. Y'all should follow Molly Burke because she makes great content. Okay, so this next video is by Soph and Indy. Their username is It's Soph and Indy. And so Soph is a quadriplegic. She is a full-time wheelchair user, and Indy is her cousin who helps her with everyday things. So this video is in response to a question that they got on Ask Us Anything like post. And so the question is, what was the most surprising thing about becoming disabled? So let's watch.
The most surprising thing about becoming disabled is probably the fact that no one actually ever told me that I wouldn't walk. So everyone always wants to know like what my emotions were like when they had that conversation with me, and it didn't happen. I was in ICU, and when I became distressed that I couldn't move anything, I was connected to this medication and they just turned the dial and I just went straight to sleep. So any distress was just...
That feels strange to me. I don't know. That feels kind of weird to me. Like, maybe they were like, oh, she's waking up and she's in pain. But I don't know. That feels a little bit strange to me.
Eliminated. There was like distressing times as I was coming to terms with it further on in the next few months, but it was just weird that no one told me that I wouldn't walk.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know.
It seems as if my dogs are going to become just a part of my content, because they just love to bark randomly at anything that is moving outside. That's crazy to not ever be like told that you're not gonna be able to walk again. Like, I understand, obviously, like, she had the paralysis and she could feel that, but at the same time it feels like a conversation that still should be had, because I don't know, that just feels crazy to me that you would just not address that. Does that mean, I'm wondering if that also means like she wasn't like told that she was paralyzed and she just kind of found that out for herself when she like was like waking up and stuff. And does that conversation also exclude like being told that she's paralyzed, what her injury was and things like that? Or was she just not explicitly told that she wouldn't walk again? That's my question. I don't know. So this next video is by Sophie. Her username is Soph's Tubs. So like Sophs and then TUBBZ. And she's doing basically just like a day in my life as a disabled teenager. So let's watch that. It says, picked my outfit of the day and went into the bathroom to get ready. It says, made sure my controller was back so I'm able to get into my desk. It says, logged into the uni system to continue my work for tomorrow. Why the day I was going to be productive, it took ages to connect. Finally connected and finished blocking out my panda environment, which looks really cool, by the way. That's really cool. Hashtag locked in. And it says, then of course, when the rain started, it was time to go to my nan's. Finished the day by spending a couple hours catching up and gossiping. See you all soon. So that was her day in the life. She really pushes against the stereotype that disabled teenagers can't be like normal teens. And I really enjoy that. Like, everything in her life, it's not super clinical how people think of disabled people with like these clinical mobility aids and like blank rooms and stuff. And like, she's just living her life. She's going to uni and she's just like pushing against that stereotype, whether it's conscious or not, like, of disabled people's lives can't be like other like able-bodied people's lives. And I just really like that about her content. Next creator, her name is Mali Timko or Teamco. I'm not sure how to say her name, but her username is Mali Loves Her Life, and good for her. Love that for her. And let's just get into the video. So it says, if you become disabled as a teen, you might hear doctors and adults telling you to focus on getting back to normal. It's important you know you still have a life to live. That is so important, because when you first become disabled, your life changes so much. It's like genuinely crazy how much like your life changes, and people are always like, oh, you'll be back to normal soon and things like that. And I just think that that shouldn't really be the aim that like people are pushing on you, because you're never going to get back to your old normal. And so pushing to find your new normal and getting back to the things you love is what I think is important. Not getting back to your old life, but getting back to the things that you love and you enjoy and the people that you love and things like that. That's the kind of thing that I feel like is a better thing to be saying to a newly disabled person, is continue doing the things that you love, continue hanging out with the people that support you and things like that, rather than getting back to your old life, because you're not going to. The sad reality of disability is that it's going to hinder your ability to do things in your day-to-day life, which means that your life will be different from now on. And you can make adaptations and things like that to make your life easier, but it will never be the same as it was before. That is the sad reality of disability. And so finding your new normal and still having those things that you love and enjoy and that bring you happiness, those are the things that you need to focus on when creating your new normal, and adapting those things so that you can still do them even with your disability. And that's the message that I think is a really good one to give to newly disabled people, because yeah, I just think that that's a far better message than like you just need to focus on getting back to normal, because you're not going to. You've got a new normal and you need to find what that is. So this next creator, her name is Abby. Her username is chronicallyabby_, and we're gonna watch this. So it says, do you even know how it feels to lose your able-bodied self? The process of grieving your able-bodied self, or who you were before you got sick or disabled or injured or whatever your case may be, the grief that you feel is it's so strange, because you're still here. It's just like, I don't know, it's a really crazy feeling, because you are still here, and you're grieving for yourself. Like, it's almost undescribable. I feel like I struggle to describe how it actually feels to lose a part of yourself that was so capable of doing all these different things, and all of a sudden having that stripped away from you, and then you having to just go on with life like everything's fine, you know? It just feels kind of crazy to me, and it always has, and it probably always will. Looking at old photos and videos and stuff of myself, and just seeing how happy I was, and how I probably didn't take, I wasn't super grateful for the body I was living in. And I feel like I wish that I was more grateful for the body that I was living in when I had it. Because now I have a different body, it doesn't work the same as it used to, and that limits a lot of the things that I can do. And so it's always a really strange thing to grieve your able-bodied self, who you could have been if you didn't become disabled, the things that you could have done if you didn't become disabled, and all of the above. It's a crazy feeling, and honestly is like indescribable. For me at least. But I'm not really always the best at understanding what I'm feeling, so yeah. This next video is by Alicia. Her username is Alicia Fairglow. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. But she posts all about like chronic illness and stuff and just her life with chronic illness. So the sound on this video is Silver Springs 2004 remaster. So it's like, now Paul is a real estate novelist who never had time for a wife, and he's looking for Davy who's still in the Navy and probably will be for life. That one. So that's the sound on it, and it says, in your 20s you'll probably develop a chronic illness randomly overnight, and it's important to know ... that your life is not over. She looks so cute in her ballerina outfit at ballet. And she's engaged. And she's feeding a kangaroo. This was... crazy dogs. This is a really good video because life with chronic illness and disability is such a spectrum of like experiences. You have all these nights and days spent in the hospital being poked and prodded by nurses and doctors and things, and then you have all of these really cool memories where it's you having fun and exploring the world and having new experiences and stuff. And it's always fascinating to me how much of a spectrum it truly can be when you're living with a chronic illness. Like, you can feel like you're literally on your deathbed, but a couple weeks before that you were in Fiji. Like, there are so many different experiences that you have with chronic illness, and that's why I think that people with dynamic disabilities, which often are chronic illnesses, are so often experiencing ableism in our world because people don't understand how much of a variety there can be between the two sides of chronic illness. And so people are like, well, you can walk, but you're using a wheelchair. Not me, because I can't walk. But like, someone will say like, why do you need a wheelchair if you can walk? And it's like, because their symptoms aren't helping them right now. They're making things quite difficult, and so they just need a little bit extra support. And that's completely fine. And then the next day they could be just walking with a cane, and like, people don't understand how much of a variety there can be. And so yeah, I really liked this video. We are going to watch one more video. This video is by another one of my friends on TikTok. Her name is Beth Usher, and her username is Beanie Usher, and she posts all about her chronic illnesses and things, and she makes really good content, so yeah. So this says, nothing makes you realize how quickly life can change overnight, quite like going from being healthy to waking up disabled on a random Tuesday morning. And the sound that is playing, is nothing happened the way I wanted. Every corner of this house is haunted. So that's the song that's playing. And that is absolutely so true. The suddenness that disability can come on can be so crazy, and it changes your whole perspective on life. You truly start to realize that nothing is forever. Nothing is guaranteed in life, honestly. And that's how I have sort of felt is like nothing is guaranteed in life. Recovery is definitely not guaranteed because there isn't a cure or anything for FND. Your health is not guaranteed, your happiness is not guaranteed. You have to make some of these things for yourself, and you have to adapt to what happens because you can't control all of it. And that can be a really difficult thing to come to terms with, but because it happens so suddenly, we're kind of like forced to really quickly try and understand something that is so intense and complex. And that can be really difficult. Okay, so that has been the video. We have seen a lot of different perspectives and people's journeys and things throughout this video. We have talked about a lot of different topics. If you can relate to any of these videos, please let me know in the comments. If you have any advice for people who are newly disabled and might be struggling, or if you are struggling yourself, ask questions in the comments, find some friends and find your community, because that's really important when you become disabled. Having friends that understand what you're kind of going through, it's never going to be the same experiences, but having friends that have similar things going on and the similar themes happening within their health can be really helpful to accepting the new life that you have. So I really hope you liked this video. Let me know in the comments what you want me to react to next and talk about next, any topics that you think could be very interesting for my videos. If you find anything that you want me to react to on Instagram or TikTok, you can tag me. My username on Instagram and TikTok is cron.oakley_ill, and I'll put it up on the screen here. And so you can tag me in whatever you want, and I will see if it's something that I want to react to on my channel. But yeah, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so that you get notified every single time I post a new video. Bye guys!